So, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी विजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी विजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना जय राधा माधव बिहारी विजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Gopi Janavallabh Radha Gopi Janavallabh Radhe Jai Sai Patita Pavan Hari Jaya Nitai Patita Pavan Gaura Hari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 32, verse number 10. Evam paritya bhagavantam anupravishta ye yogino jitamarun manaso viragaha tenaiva sakamamritam purusham puranam brahma pradanamupayanti agatabhimanaha evam paritya bhagavantam anupravishta ye yogino jitamarun manaso viragaha tenaiva sakamamritam purusham puranam brahma pradanamupayanti agatabhimanaha evam paritya bhagavantam anupravishta ye yogino jitamarun manaso viraga tenaiva sakamamritam purusham puranam brahma pradanamupayanti agatabhimanaha. Tenaiva sakamamritam purusham puranam brahma pradanamupayanti agatabhimanaha. Evam paritya bhagavantam anupravishta ye yogino jitamarun manaso viraga tenaiva sakamamritam purusham puranam brahma pradanamupayanti agatabhimanaha. What evam, thus, parit, parityaya, having gone a long distance, Bhagavantam, Lord Brahma, Anupravishta, entered, ye, those who, yoginaha, yogis, Jita, controlled, Marut, the breathing, Manasa, the mind, Viraga, detached, Tena, with Lord Brahma, Eva, indeed, Sakam, together, Amritam, the embodiment of bliss, Purusham, onto the personality of Godhead, Puranam, the oldest, Brahma Pradhanam, the supreme Brahman, Upayanti, they go, Agata, not gone, Abhimana, whose false ego. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. And therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. By perfecting their yogic practice, yogis can reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. And after giving up their material bodies, they can enter into the body of Lord Brahma. Because they are not directly devotees of the Lord, they cannot get liberation directly. They have to wait until Brahma is liberated, and only then, along with Brahma, are they also liberated. It is clear that as long as a living entity is a worshipper of a particular demigod, his consciousness is absorbed in the thoughts of that demigod. And therefore, he cannot get direct liberation or entrance into the kingdom of God, nor can he merge into the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such yogis or demigod worshippers are subjected to the chance of taking birth again when there is again creation. Reading the translation one more time. The yogis who become detached from the material world by the practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. And therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. While preparing for this verse, it was a challenge because this is something I can't relate to. So I beg for the prayers, blessings of Eagle Kishore Prabhu and all the senior devotees here, and the prayers of all of you, so that I can share what I have heard, studied. So please forgive me if I have deviated and correct me, because feedback is a gift. So it helps me to grow. मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। So if you look at the purport of this verse, it says that by perfecting the yoga practice, yogis can reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. And after giving up the material bodies, they can enter into Lord Brahma. And once they go into this Brahmaloka, right? Once they go into the Brahmaloka, they're still practicing. And it's not that, oh, because they practice, like for example, for us devotees, we are practicing, and once we end, we have a chance to go back. We don't have to wait for anyone else to take. I mean, yes, the Guru takes us back, but we're not waiting for the whole world to get Krishna conscious, right? So, but here, Srila Prabhupada says that till the life of Brahma is not complete, the living entities on that planet do not go back. And once they go back, they also go back into the Supreme Brahman. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14 and verse 27, in the purport of that, Srila Prabhupada very clearly says that the four Kumaras who have perfected the life, the process of yoga, they go, right? They merge into the Supreme Brahman. But again, they are not happy there. They have to go to the process of the next level, and then to attain bhakti, right? They have to go through that process. So while reading, I was thinking about this, right? When someone asks us to touch our nose, this is how we touch our nose. We don't touch our nose this way, right? So the process of yoga is this, right? It's straight, right? You just touch your nose. So that's what I felt that the process. So in 8.16 of Bhagavad Gita, where the verse says, Abrahma Bhuvna Loka, Punar Avartana Arjuna, Mama Petya Kaunteya, Punarjanmana Vidyati. So all the way from the highest planet in the material world to the lowest, right? Everyone has to go to the birth, to the cycle of birth and death, right? So the only way we can come out of it is by the process of devotional service. So, and Prabhupada, in one story, he shares a very nice pastime. What he tells is there was once a boy who left home when he was young. And the reason he left home was he wanted to go and take the association of yoga with different yogis and practice yoga. So he goes, he spends a lot of time with different yogis. And after a couple of years, he comes back to his own village. And, and all the villagers ask him, okay, can you show us what you learned? What did you learn from these yogis? So this person says that I've learned that I can walk on water. So there was one old person who's there in that audience, and he says, "Oh, that's it. So that's only 2 cents." So everyone are wondering why only 2 cents? Because why do we need to walk on water to go to the other end, right? And it takes only 2 cents back in those days to take the boat and go on the other. So Prabhupada is saying that, and for a person to go to this Brahmaloka and then merge into Brahman only happens when that person has perfected the yogic principle. And the person who did not perfect is a rascal, he says. So that's like wow, so it's like this. So what is the easiest way? We know that the easiest way is, as in 8.16, Krishna says, is to the process of bhakti, one does not have to go through this cycle. Right? One does not. So what is the process of bhakti? How do we get this process of bhakti? It is by the mercy of a devotee we get the process of bhakti. Again, in the first canto, after the war, right? After the war, when the Pandavas retire and come, Arjuna is having a conversation with Krishna, and he's sharing. He's being very grateful for all the situations Krishna had been with them. From the Draupadi's episode, in the war, in the Lakshagra, every episode Arjuna is expressing his gratitude, how the Lord has been there for the Pandavas. And in that, Prabhupada explains in the purport that there was a pastime of the Kandav when the Pandavas were given the Kandav forest, and Kaurava says, okay, now go build your palace there. So the Kandav forest was very rich in herbs. And what Agnidev wanted to do, he wanted to get stronger. So he goes to Krishna and he says, I want to eat. So the forest fire starts, right? When the forest fire starts, Arjuna and Krishna are also there. The same time, there is a demon called as Mayadana who was in that forest. He sees the forest and he's running. He's running away from the forest. And now when he's running and he stops and he sees that Krishna is in front of him, the Sudarshan Chakra and all that. Now Mayadana is like, when he looks back, he's got the forest. When he looks front, he's got the Sudarshan Chakra. And on the side is Arjuna, a devotee. So what he does is he takes shelter of the devotee. Right? So that's what Mayadana does. What that fire that is chasing Mayadana represents is the blazing fire of material existence in our life. And what Krishna with the Sudarshan Chakra represents is time that takes us away into this and puts us back into this birth, old age, disease, and all into that cycle. And what happens is when he looks at Arjuna, he takes shelter of Arjuna. As soon as Mayadana takes shelter of Arjuna, Krishna is pleased and he gives him shelter. So what happens is in that pastime, Prabhupada writes very clear, in that purport, Prabhupada writes very clearly that by the mercy of Krishna, sorry, by the mercy of the devotee, he gets the shelter of Krishna. And by the shelter of Krishna, he gets the service to serve the Vaishnava. And how does Mayadana serve the Vaishnava? By building the palace. He gets the opportunity to go. So that's the power of a Vaishnava. So it's very important that we receive the mercy of a Vaishnava. And when we get this mercy of the Vaishnava, we also have to understand how do we associate with these Vaishnavas, right? Because there are rare jewels. Right? We have in this whole Farmington Hills, there are a couple of thousands of people, right? In that thousands of people, probably were only 1 or 2% of devotees who live in this, belong to, who are practicing bhakti. So that's how rare. I don't even know if we are 1% of that. Maybe we're less than a person. So that's how rare devotees are. And to get their mercy, to get their associations, it's very, very, very precious. Right? So it's very important to be careful in associating devotees. And how do we associate? How do we take the association of devotees? In the Nectar of Instruction, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says the 6 principles, right? Tadati pratigrihati, right? So what is it? Exchanging and receiving gifts, right? Guhyati akhyam uchati. That is, we'll wait for that. Basically, what that is revealing one's mind and also asking in confidence, right? Inquiring in confidence. And the next one is punjte bojante, right? So you're offering prasad and you're accepting prasad. Now, the first one is easy. Receiving an exchange of gifts is easy. The third one is also easy, right? Where you're offering prasad and you invite devotees to the house to offer. And then you also you receive, when you go to devotees' houses, you receive prasad. But the hardest is the second one. And Guhyam Akhyati Prichati, because you have to reveal your heart. Means revealing your heart means you're revealing your vulnerability in front of a devotee. You're revealing your weaknesses in front of a devotee. And that's very, very hard to be, to expose yourself, right? And that is the most difficult. And while I was meditating and processing this, right, it was very challenging, right? I understood like that is the most challenging. And that happens only when there is trust. When there's trust in that relationship, then the person feels safe to open their heart, to reveal their weaknesses, and inquire what they can do. And then they receive that instruction, and then we apply those principles in our life. For that, there were 3 important factors that are needed to develop that trust. I call it as the 3S, the 3S principle. The first one is simplicity. Gaur Govind Maharaj says that simplicity means it's Vaishnavism. It's synonyms, right? It's synonymous to both. Vaishnava means he's simple and simplicity means Vaishnavism. Now, and then we say, how come a simple person, what does simplicity mean? Simplicity means being naive, right? Or being ignorant? No. Prabhupada was never naive, right? He had everything, he dealt with it to the highest perfection, right? So what does simplicity mean then? If it is not naiveness, it just means to deal everything, to practice, to do everything perfectly. What does it mean? It means that nothing for me. Everything is for Krishna. There's no hidden agenda here, right? When there's no hidden agenda, everything is simple because you're simply doing it, right? It's simply wonderful. Krishna Prabhupada says it's simply wonderful sweets. So it's simply wonderful. And if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, right? He was very peaceful in Radha Damodar, right? Very nice. He's got a small room, very peacefully he was writing. But he came to the West to preach. And when he came to the West to preach, he was getting, everything was like, even though the initial days was a struggle, later on, when more and more devotees started and the movement started growing, what happened was, he was flying to different parts of the world. He was having a Rolex watch at one time. He was having, I think he was driven in Benz cars and Rolls Royce and everything, right? So this is like opulence, right? And how is it simple in this way? So one of that, I think in one of the past time, in one of those interactions, Srila Prabhupada told to one of his disciples, at any given time, I wish, even within that opulence that he was given, he was desiring to go back into that small room in Radha Damodar, into his bhajan. But, he said that, but that is sense gratification. And I'm like, oh my God, how is this sense gratification? Going back to Radha Damodar and practices bhajana is sense gratification. He says, because my spiritual master wanted me to go preach, that precedes everything. My own comfort, it precedes my own comfort. So that's why it is. So Prabhupada was so simple, right? His heart was simple, right? And we also see in the pastime of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, was so opulent, everything. But when someone was like, when Bhagavatam was read, he went into ecstasy. He was simple at heart. You might look opulent on the externals, but what matters is the internals. So, and also, what does simplicity mean? Simplicity means being straightforward. In our dealings with Vaishnavas, in our communication with Vaishnavas. Now, being straightforward can be hard, right? Because what straightforwardness means, literally you're showing the mirror to the person, right? And Srila Prabhupada says that, yes, you can show the mirror, but also be a shadow to the devotee. Right? So as a mirror, you show, hey, this is what it is. But by a shadow, you're there, you're with them. Wherever you go, the shadow goes, right? You are there with them. You're taking that journey with them. That's what. And a very beautiful pastime of Srila Prabhupada, where once Srila Prabhupada was giving, I think, a darshan. And there was one devotee, not a devotee, a guest who came and who asked Prabhupada that, do you know who Sai Baba is? And Prabhupada very plainly says, I don't know. I don't know who he is. And then another devotee said, another guest comes and says, you know what? I think I want to be Krishna. I can be Krishna. Then Prabhupada looks at him and he says, today I feel like kicking you with the slipper. Can I? I feel like doing it. And then, so that shows he's showing his mirror, right? He was showing mirror to that. And then immediately, right? Immediately Prabhupada says, we have to be God consciousness, godly, not God, right? So he's being that shadow. He's being like a thunderbolt. And at the same time, he's trying to say, this is what you need to be, right? We shouldn't be God, but we should be godly. We should have those godly qualities. That's what Prabhupada was sharing. That was such a beautiful thing. Now, when practicing this straightforwardness, right, comes the next S, which is sensitivity, right? In that straightforwardness is we need to develop or have a quality of sensitivity in our dealings. Now, how can one be sensitive in our exchanges among devotees? Like, a sensitivity can be by making sure that when we express, Yugal Prabhu always says that, first appreciate the services that they do, appreciate the qualities that they have, and then you can express it in. And when you're expressing, first we have to know, right? Are we the authority to express it or not, right? And then two, do we have a relationship to express it or not? We don't have a relationship, it just goes. It goes from this year to this year. It doesn't go from the ear to the heart, right? It's just what do you call? It is head knowledge. It doesn't become heart knowledge, right? So it's very important that sensitivity is a very important factor in Srila Prabhupada. There was a pastime of Srila Prabhupada where one time Prabhupada was going on a walk and Gurudas Prabhu wanted to go on a walk. And then because it was getting late and Prabhupada was leaving, he didn't have time to wear his shoes. So he just left. He just left without wearing shoes, right? And some of us do that. And then while they were walking, it was for a long time. And then all the devotees were walking, but Gurudas Prabhu was struggling to walk and keep up to speed with Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada noticed. And then Srila Prabhupada looked at Gurudas Prabhu and he said, Gurudas, what happened? You seem to be struggling. You didn't wear your slippers. Prabhupada was very attentive. He was very sensitive to everyone, right? And he looked at it and he was very concerned, like, you didn't wear your slippers. It's rocky here. And then Gurudas Prabhu was like, Prabhupada, when you are there, I don't feel the pain. I generally we try to this thing. Prabhupada immediately understood, hey, this is not authentic. We have to be genuine if we feel painful, it's good to express ourselves. And Prabhupada said, oh, so then you can cut the throat for me also. And then Gurudas Prabhu gets taken back. And Prabhupada says, after that, it's a very beautiful statement that really touched my heart. He says that we have enough austerities. We don't need extra austerities in our life to do all of this. So that was how Prabhupada was straightforward. He was simple at heart, straightforward in his dealings with sensitivity. Sensitivity was very, very important. And the third S is sincerity. So we have to be sincere in our dealings. We have to be sincere in our practices of devotional service. Now, why sincerity is important? Basically, when we are simple, right, then sincerity comes automatically. Because if we complicated things, then sincerity is difficult to follow, right? So keep it simple. That's what Mahavishnu Maharaj says. Keep it very simple, then your bhakti, your bhajana, everything becomes, then you become sincere in your bhakti and your bhajana. That's what Maharaj says. And when you're sincere, be sincere in your appreciation for devotees. We don't have to wait for an occasion to appreciate a devotee. Find an opportunity. Why do we have to wait for an occasion? Arey, aaj she called me, so I will appreciate. No, we can take up a call and do it. Actually, recently I'll share a funny story. I was doing some services on Nityananda Dasi, and I observed certain interaction, and I went home and I left a message for a devotee. And I said, I really appreciate what you do, the journey that you have gone through and everything. And then, I was expecting our standard emojis of either you get a heart, your thumbs up, or your dandavats, right? I was expecting, but I get a message, Mataji, is everything okay? And I'm like, I was appreciating. I get a message back, is everything okay? So then I realized, why did this come? Then I realized, see, because I'm not consistently doing it. So if I'm consistent, vigilant about my appreciation, about being vigilant when I'm interacting with devotees, when I'm more observant, right? Then that appreciation comes automatically. It comes from the heart, right? That's why that sincerity is very, very important. When we cultivate these three principles, what happens? The trust develops, right? The trust develops. And then now the devotees become, comfortable to open their heart. Right? But along with the trust, there are three other things that come with it. It's like a bonus that comes with that. And the three bonuses that we get, when we get the association, when we develop these qualities and have these qualities in our dealings with Vaishnavas, what happens is we get three things happen. The first thing is our doubts. There are three doubts that get cleared. The first doubt that gets cleared is Krishna real? Is this process working? Is this happening, right? Is this true? What's happening? So that's the first doubt that the devotees clear for us, right? And the second doubt, the association of the devotees help is, or the second doubt that clears is, they they help us in removing these impediments in the path of bhakti. Now, like how do they do? Because they guide us. They're being that shadow for us, right? Because that they're the shadow for us, they tell us, hey, don't go this way. They become the GPS for us. In that journey of bhakti, they become our GPS. And it's so wonderful, right? The GPS is always there. You don't have to worry about a map, nothing. The GPS takes us wherever we need to go. They take us to our right destination. Right? So these Vaishnavas are like that. And then the last one, the last doubt that gets cleared when we develop these wonderful qualities with Vaishnavas is we feel loved. And we feel the love of Krishna also. Because how do we feel the love? Because always we sometimes we doubt, right? Hare Krishna, sometimes we don't, at least for me, I can speak for myself. Sometimes when we are going through especially when we are going through a difficult phase, we cannot see the hand of Krishna in that difficult phase. When everything is hunky-dory, yes, we can see, Are Krishna ki mercy hai, Krishna is so merciful, Krishna is so loving. It's easy to say. But in a difficult situation, it's very difficult to see that hand of Krishna, right? It's very difficult. It's like that, I think there's that story, right? Where the person is going on the beach, right? And then the Lord is walking behind. And after a while, there's only one set of footsteps. And what's actually happening is the Lord is lifting and, he's carrying that person. That's why there are only those footsteps are the footsteps of the Lord, right? So the devotees help us to see this. And very important, what we also do is in this process, we beat ourselves up. I'm low born. I'm really fallen. I'm low born. And Prabhupada, there was a class he had given in New York, right? Very beautiful. And that was the first time that really touched my heart. Prabhupada said, you are not low born. Nobody is low born, right? You are very precious for Krishna. Feel the love. You're very, very precious for Krishna. That was like, I had like, wow, that is so nice, Prabhupada saying. And he was very emphatical about saying that, you are very, very precious for Krishna. And then he shares a pastime of that. He tells that there was, in Bengal, there was once a person who was, who was a normal, regular person, but he had many enemies. Right. So all these people, what they came together and they did was they positioned themselves at different places. And he said, you know what, we'll tell this guy is crazy. So as this person is going on somewhere on that path, the first person says he's crazy. He goes to the second person. He said, hey, you're crazy. Third person, fourth person, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth. Till everyone says, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. By the 10th time, this guy got convinced I'm crazy. That's what we do. We beat ourselves up. We are crazy. We are low. No, just understand that Krishna is not like, he's not a Hitler. He's not a dictator. He's a loving father, right? We have to feel that love, and we definitely feel that love. So again, while these things happen in the association of devotees, when we cultivate these qualities, these doubts get clear. And when these doubts get clear, what also happens is, right, in what is that song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Hey Vaishnava Thakur, right? In the second verse, he says, they help us, the Vaishnavas help us to remove the 6 urges. They help us to, develop those 6 qualities of patience, tolerance, having, true interactions, right? And also having this loving relationship. So that's the beauty of a Vaishnava, right? And while they clear these doubts, right, what they also give us is attachment to Krishna. That's like the pinnacle, right? That's the top. That's like the cherry on the cake, right? On the icing of the cake. That's the cherry. What they give is they give attachment to attachment to Krishna. And again, while there was something that came to my mind while I was studying for this. We know the pastime of Velu Mangal Thakur, right? Velu Mangal Thakur was a Brahmana, then he gets into bad association, and then he gets attached to a prostitute, right? He got so attached to the prostitute that when his father leaves his body, he just wants to finish up the rituals, just like finish up the rituals and go to be with the prostitute. So by the time the rituals and everything all the vidhis get complete, it gets longer. Right? And the prostitute is waiting and she thinks, oh, he's not going to come today. So she closes the door and she goes upstairs and she goes. And then Bilomangal Thakur, he's like going and it's raining heavily and there's no boatman. So what he does, he swims. He swims to that river and goes on the other side. And finally, he goes to the house of the prostitute. And when he goes to the house, he sees that the doors are closed. Right? When he sees the doors are closed, he sees a rope and he takes the rope and he goes up. And then he knocks the door. The prostitute opens. And when she opens, she's surprised. She's astonished. Like, how come you're here? Right? And how come you're here? And then he says, oh, I came up by the rope. And she looks at him like in shock. And he said, hey, that's not a rope. That's a snake. Right? His attachment to the prostitute was so strong that he thought that the snake was a rope. And the same thing in the pastime of Haridas Thakur, right? Who took the association because of Advaita Acharya, he takes the process of devotion, right? So when he takes this process, the same Advaita Acharya had prostitute was there, but because his attachment was not to the prostitute, his attachment was to the holy name, right? So what happens is when we take the right association, the right action, we get the right attachment, right? That is the attachment to Vaishnavas. So this is what I wanted to share. Please forgive me if I've shared anything, that was, and correct me if I have mistakenly said something or shared something. Because as I said, in the corporate world, feedback is a gift, right? We always say this, feedback is a gift. It helps me. And actually, I wanted to honestly share something. Actually, on Nityananda Trayodasi, when all the deities were there, there was this burning desire for me that I'm struggling with my studying the scriptures. So and every day I go and say, please stop. I want to study your books. I want to study your books. But I don't go share it in front of the deities, only till Prabhupada. That day, all the deities were there. I was praying as I was putting the pushpa, the flowers, I said, really want to study. I really want to study. And yes, day before yesterday, when Shyam Kishore Prabhu called, I said, "Oh my God, I didn't know this will come this fast." I thought, "Arey, aaram se karungi." That is procrastination. Procrastination is a disease for devotees. So I realized, hey, this is like an alarm bell for me. So again, thank you so much. If there are any questions, I will try my best, or Devi Kishore Prabhu is here, Hemang Mataji is here, and the other devotees who can also help in answering those questions. If there's any feedback, please feel free to share. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Go ahead. Hare Krishna. Yes. Quite easy for us when devotees are very simple. So simplicity becomes very natural. But when it comes for the outside world, when the outside world, that it's so there, bringing that simplicity is that it's like walking on a bridge. Yes. So how to understand that and to develop that and understand yeah, you all can share too. What I believe is, Prabhu, we should know when.
Mother, can you repeat the question? Sorry, we don't hear the question.
Brahmabhuta Prabhu's question was that we know simplicity is important. Simplicity means no duplicity. And when we are in the association of devotees, it's easy because, we see that devotees are simple, it's nice. But when we go outside into the material world, we see people are different, right? We're literally walking on thorns, right? Or fire. Then how can we be, and how can we understand how to interact at that point? Am I correct, Prabhu? Did I miss anything? Right. So, Prabhu, what I feel is we should understand when to give association and when to take association. That is the first principle, right? When we go outside, we don't take, we give, right? We become like that lotus flower, right? The water falls, but we are unattached, and it doesn't happen. And Prabhupada also says that. That doesn't mean that, we have to be smart, right? Devotees have to be smart because we are dealing with the outside world. It's like a blazing fire. We have to be smart in dealings. And Prabhupada was, when it came to reporters and all, he was not simple. He gave it when he has to give it. Very strongly, very straightforwardly, we'll answer. Right? We have to be careful about that. So that's what I think. If any Prabhu, if you would like to share. I hope I just wanted to keep it simple. Yeah. By being simple. If Prabhupada says, that's what he would say, right? He would just say being simple. Simplicity, it's a struggle for me, Prabhu. Genuinely, it's a struggle for me. But when I see devotees, I'll just share what works for me or what helps me, not all the times, but sometimes. right? When I see devotees who are simple, right, I try to take their association more frequently, right? Not once a week, by just just being there and seeing there, it works, but it's not like fast track. If you want to be on a fast track, we associate more with such devotees. The more we associate, the better it is. That helps us. That's one. The second thing is, this is something I actually observed from the life of Rasika Prabhu. He's very simple at that. Don't complicate, keep it simple. His home is simple, his lifestyle is simple. Matlab, like, don't accumulate. Like, we start with things that are easy to do first, right? Then we try to, that's how we simplify, right? We break it down. सबको simplify एक time करना भी मुश्किल है. So we break it down in smaller parts. Okay, the areas that can help me, I will simplify it first. Yeah, there are areas that, relationships are hard. Those are but as we practice, it comes. And my brother-in-law, my Prabhu's brother, he's a doctor. My Puchanda Prabhu. I was actually, when I observe him, right, I have very deep appreciation for him. Like, he's a doctor, right? He is like dealing with doctors and all. But when he comes to the applying the principles of Vaishnavism, right, he just follows it strictly, right? So and he keeps his lifestyle very simple. He's a big doctor, but his life is very simple. Like, he doesn't complicate things. Keep it, matlab, morning he has his own sadhana, evening he comes back and he does his sadhana. Those 8 hours he's there, he just does because it's his duty to do, to take care of his family. He does that and he's back into his own budget. I really find that, and when I go to their home, when I go to my brother-in-law's home, I observe him, like, his clothing is simple. It applies in every part. It's our minute by minute consciousness is of being simple comes by practicing in areas slowly and then cultivating and then growing. And what I also found is, if I'm having a struggle, right, this I found it, I don't know if it might work. I write down what my struggle is. यार simple होना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है. Prayers, also praying. I really want to be simple. And also sometimes what I realize is, as we practice bhakti, right? I feel we lose our innocence in bhakti as we are growing, right? How can we get back our innocence? The innocence, like prayers work. These are the two things I can share. But Devi Prabhu, if anybody would like to share, please feel free to share. Mataji. Yes, Prabhu. Hmm. Mm. Yes. Thank you. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the point which you talked about investing. Like we, a few other when you hear and share the good point, we have one friend. Everybody in the communication, we all know that's why.
Yes.
But he would be such a friend, he had such a friend in this purpose, and one time he gave lesson like Maharaj is so cold. And it was little hard for that because he said, whatever he said. So this is one thing which I learned from that this conversation, and that we need to invest in our relationship, but we have to invest in devotees, we have to invest in whatever we do.
Right.
That is the one which is lasting. So I really like this one you mentioned about. And the other thing which you talked about, the simplicity, what was the second one?
Sensitivity. It's an episode. Oh, this thing in that cool.
Sensitivity is important part.
Yes. Right. Thank you so much, Prabhu. While you were sharing, something came up that when Prabhupada often emphasized on this point that our movement is not disturbed by externals, it will be disturbed by the internal, right? So the internals are important. That means us. We are those people that can cause those disturbances. So practicing this, when we have those healthy relationships, there are healthy communications, then what happens is the cooperation comes automatically. And in that cooperation, is showed, that's what pleases Prabhupada the most. That's what's my spiritual master always says. Come what may. You might not like it, you don't like it. And Yugal Kishore Prabhu, every festival, Mangalarti he shares. If someone steps on you, forgive. And you be cautious and not stepping on them. So this is cautious practices. So thank you so much, Prabhu. I really appreciate it. I hope it helped. Thank you. Okay, I think any questions or any feedback or any points anybody would like to share online? I think we are good.
Hey Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much for wonderful and simple class, Mataji. And simply deliver the message, which is very important. It's just practically application is the one which challenges. But thank you for touching that, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prema Mataji. How are you? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Oh,
yeah, nice class, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Mataji, what you said about the second S? I know first is
sensitivity, Prabhu. Second one is sensitivity.
Yeah, can you elaborate that sensitivity part?
So sensitivity means when we are dealing with devotees, right? Prabhupada says, while we show them a mirror of who they are, being straightforward, we also are cautious, and sometimes oversensitivity is also not needed. But sometimes in oversensitivity, that's why it's very important. The person who's, it's the give and take, right? So we are trying to be sensitive to the other person, and the other person becomes oversensitive. That's also not healthy. So there should be a proper balance. And so sensitivity in dealing is that, hey, we show them in the mirror, but yet also be a shadow for them, to care for them, to protect them. And Yugal Kishore Prabhu always often says that before you correct, first appreciate their qualities, understand whether you are the right person or you're the authority to correct them, and gently. And I also understand that while we're expressing, right, if we can be sensitive to their challenges, their situation, right? Sympathy is not needed in devotion. Empathy is important. Sympathy means, "Arey bechare." No, empathy means, what can I do to do it? And also, what I know, what helped me in certain situations where the other person is sensitive is, I'll just be here. I'll just hear them for that person. I'll just hear. At that point, I won't say, I know it's hard. It must be hard. But when we pray, right, I've always noticed in the next 2-3 days, something comes up that I end up, that same devotee will come, and then I can, now that point, I can express in a more stronger way, and then the person can take it with an open heart. right? So being sensitive to the person's emotion, the sensitivity of time and place also is important, right? Where we are sharing, in what environment we are sharing, and how it's being shared. So I'm sorry, Prabhu, if I've answered your question.
No, thank you so much. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we can.
Thank you very much, Prem Pallavi Mataji. Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Very
much,
nice.
Prabhu.
Hare
Best of luck.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. I think you already are preaching to us the simplicity and how to deal with Vaishnavas by your acts, but today you just explain with the words. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashwini Mataji. Dandavat Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay, you can go ahead and end the class here. Again, thank you so much. All goes to Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Devi, for such a wonderful class.
Thank you, Bhageshri Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam Mataji.